how amazing is it, though, that you and I can do this? We've never met, and I'm going to go into this in the chat, but it's just ace people across the world just able to do this.
I know. I was talking with my husband about this the other night. Like, people in Michelangelo's day, like, they were reading books, but they didn't have connection to the internet. They didn't have all of everything. But we do.
They didn't even know what Texas was. Well, Texas didn't exist.
No.
Are you ready?
Ready.
Excellent. I love your energy. Right, let's go. Welcome back to another episode of Chewing the Crust, the podcast where we peel back the layers and get real about life, identity, and everything in between. I'm your host, the Pie-Eating Man, and today we're sitting down with someone who doesn't just talk the talk, she builds bridges between understanding and healing for neurodivergent minds everywhere. Joining us is Dr. Kristen Williamson, therapist, advocate, and founder of Empower Mind Solutions. She's a proud mum, or mom, as you will get a clue there, a business builder. She was late diagnosed as being an autistic ADHDer. Kristen's story is one of resilience, reinvention, and radical self-acceptance. Get comfy, people, because we're about to dig deep into mental health, identity, masking, and what it feels to be fully unapologetically yourself with someone who actually knows what they're talking about for a change, unlike me. So, they told her to shrink, to shape, to hide, but her spirit refused to stay inside. A spark too bright to fit the mold, a story of courage, quiet and bold. Now she builds what she never had, a place for the weird, the fierce, the rad. In her truth, 1,000 lights ignite, making space for every shade of light. Welcome to Chewing the Crust Podcast, Dr. Kristen Williamson. And I'm going to do like Muppet style cheering.
Yay! Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. It's really nice to have our first international, and you are actually international. You're not just American in the UK. You are in
That's true.
The Red Star State, is it called?
And the Lone Star State in Texas.
Lone Star State. Am I right in thinking Texas is the biggest state?
I actually think Alaska is the biggest, but when it comes to hairstyles, Texas wins. There was a quote, the higher the hair, the closer to God. And hats. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like in the UK, if you walk along and you see someone in a cowboy hat or a 10-gallon hat or whatever they're properly called, you like look at them and think, they're eccentric, but like there, it's just normal.
It's just normal. And it's really depending on if you are in a big city or if you are more rural. Cowboy hats are very common.
That's cool.
My bonus dad has 14 pairs of cowboy boots, a nice pair and a daily pair for every day of the week. And he's got multiple hats. And this is my church wearing hat. This is my going out riding the motorcycle hat. This is the this.
And you've got proper Texas there.
Yeah.
That's cool. So, first question for you, because it's a question I ask everybody, given the nature of the podcast. And I think your answer, I might actually be able to predict your answer. I should write it down first. But what is your favorite pie?
Oh, my favorite pie is weird for people in Texas. It's chocolate pie. It is my favorite pie to eat over holidays. One, because it's store-made.
Because I was going to guess it. Pecan.
And, pecan pie, sweet potato pie, all those. Chocolate pie. Again, I do things just a bit on the weird side.
Well, that's not weird. That's just individual. But in the UK, when you ask somebody what's their favorite pie, most people would give you the answer a savory pie. Not that's not the name of the pie, but something with meat in it or vegetables. And in America, it's always like cherry pie,
pie.
Apple pie. Yeah.
You know what? I actually didn't, until watching the Great British Bake Off, I didn't realize pies could be savory pies.
What?
And yeah, I had no idea. I had absolutely no idea.
Do you cook?
Not frequently.
Okay. I was going to send you a recipe for a decent British
My
meat and potato pie.
husband does, though.
Right.
So
We'll sort
recipes
that.
are always welcome.
Yeah. I'm going to send you a recipe for a British savory pie. And what you have to do is when you try it, you have to record it and we'll put it on the pod and we'll share what your opinion of a proper British pie is. Yeah, excellent. So, I mean, to the British, a pie and mash or pie with chips or something like that is like fish and chips to some extent. It's that much of a thing. So, anyway, and you don't need subtitles for my Yorkshire accent because I don't probably sound like the average British guy that you're used to hearing.
No, you're doing pretty good, or my ears are tuning into it. I love it. Accents are so much fun for me. It's funny. Part of my neurospicy brain, and a lot of people call it neurodivergent. I call it neurospicy because I fully believe we have the spice of life. I hear accents, and I'm like, I can mimic that. I can do that. And so I'm actively telling my brain, don't do that. Don't say that. Don't mimic him.
I love it.
Don't.
I love accents and I love language, so I'm absolutely on board with you there. But then I'm neurospicy, so that's probably why.
It's just fun.
So you are a doctor. That's cool. And admirable, so admirable, because I know what it takes to get to that sort of level of qualification. That's amazing. And I'm not going to go on about it because you've said I can call you Kristen, so that's wonderful. Tell me, Kristen, about life growing up. Tell me about you before you became the grown-up that you are.
I was born into a military family. I was born in Reading in the UK.
In the UK? So you're British?
In the UK. Yes.
Oh, wow. That's really cool. So you're not actually my first international person to speak to.
Well, I am 2 citizenships. So
nice.
So yeah, I always think that's cool. Like, I was born in the UK, but I have no accent. I have no anything. Moved very, very young. I didn't get diagnosed with ADHD or autism until almost 40.
Wow.
It started after a friend of mine told me around 35, like, I'm pretty certain you're autistic. And I vehemently put in the kibosh for that. Like, no. Because growing up, I was just the weird kid. I was one who, it almost felt like I was an alien wearing a human chameleon suit. And okay, well, I'm analyzing these human behaviors. I'm doing this and watching TV shows. Oh, this person got a laugh. I'm going to mimic this. And it's a whole bunch of masking and like their eyebrow raised at the right time. I can do that. I can do this. But in implementing it, I didn't always do it right. And so it's like, oh, she said the line, but just a bit off. So we don't really know how to connect with her. Like, she seems
I get that.
funny, but also really weird. Or I would go into the, hey, let's talk about bread. Let's talk about dinosaurs. And then people would just, like at 12, they're like, you want to talk about bread? Not the easiest way to make friends, but the hyperfixation comes in. And I wanted to learn all of the things. Like, for me, as the alien, I'm collecting all this data on, human Earth. Like, let me learn this. Let me learn this. This is so cool. And even to this day, I still, more often than not, feel like an alien walking around in human clothing. Like, I just can, I have all the accolades. I've got a family. I've got a job. I've got the things. But it feels like I am wearing the human suit, just kind of doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
And regular listeners to this show or viewers on YouTube will know that what I do before we speak is send out a questionnaire because I like to make sure that we know a little bit about each other, but also I don't want to tread in areas which could cause upset. I would hate to do that. It's not my bag at all. I want to celebrate my guests and people like you. So, but in that you described yourself as a young person, and if you're turning up to different schools and different places on a semi-regular basis, and you're presenting as this person that is quirky, is that a good phrase to say? Because I don't think it's wrong to turn up with what you're doing, but it must have made it difficult to make bonds and to meet people on a level. I mean, I would imagine a lot of the kids are moving around anyway, but it still must be hard.
You are spot on. A phrase that I have come into within the past couple of years is called the third culture. And a third culture are kids, military kids. You don't necessarily fit in with the places that you move into because you are being transplanted into those places. And people already have these established roots and these established friend groups and all the way up through adulthood. And with people who are neurospicy, the mask can stay on and it doesn't start slipping until possibly later on. So you are never caught. You are never seen. Doctors don't catch on teachers don't catch on, your friends don't notice. And so a lot of military kids fall through the cracks. At least they did when I was growing up, and they were falling through the cracks and being seen and being diagnosed and identified as, oh, there's something a little bit off, because every time you move somewhere else, you can start the game over of, okay, now I get to put this different mask on and the same kind of mask, but a little bit different of here's how I fit in this place.
And how conscious to you as a child was that decision to mask? You know, do you think you started by just trying to fit in and then you realized that was to some extent manipulatable?
I don't even think I noticed I was masking, or at least the term and the identification of it, until well into adulthood. Probably not until I started learning about autism itself.
Right.
And I started learning about it when my son, who's 15 now, he got diagnosed with autism and ADHD when he was 8. Mm-hmm. And once he was diagnosed, that kind of opened up pathways for me just to learn about it and to learn about different things, because I wanted to be the best parent that I could for him. I know neurodivergent brains, they learn similarly yet different, and they respond different. And you can't come in, I mean, parenting is a walk through Jurassic Park in general, but coming in with someone who has more rigidity in their thinking or has harder times or can't handle certain textures or tastes or sounds, and it's just an ever evolving. And so as I was learning about autism through him, I was kind of learning about it in myself, even though I still didn't have words for it. I still didn't know that was me, because girls and females, we present differently. And because we present differently, we get missed so often.
That annoys me so much. I didn't actually know that was a fact, but I'm very passionate about, I don't like the phrase equal rights, but I just think people should be treated as people, whether you're female, male, whatever, whether it's in the workplace or whatever. And even if you present differently, unfortunately, we men made the rules back in the day, you know, and that unfortunately means that we thought we were right, and a lot of men still think they're right, and they're not very good at necessarily changing that. So I'm very passionate about having the chat, bringing people together, but I think we have to still involve the middle class man in the conversation in order to change things. But I didn't know that was the case, and that's really saddening to me that lots of women are missed, presumably.
Yeah, well, I am right there with you. I'm full on and about just treating everybody the same. And for me, that comes in with the, like, our brains are different, but not less. And that's not a gendered thing. That's, for me, it's a neurospicy thing, because our brains are kind of different, but that by no means makes us less in any way, shape, or form. For America, the autism testing, it was created, I believe, in the 50s, and it was focused on white young males of affluence. And so if you didn't meet the criteria of an 8-year-old white boy from a middle-class family, you were not seen. And so people of color have been missed. Females have been missed. Caucasian males who don't hit the exact criteria were missed. Maybe were a little bit more soft-spoken, or just with ADHD, it's now moved into hyperactive type and inattentive type. So inattentive are the daydreamers, not the ones who are bouncing off the walls. And so, like, the daydreamers were missed, because if you didn't meet that criteria, nope, you're just super smart. We're going to put you in the gifted and talented classes. You are going to do this, are going to do this. Because with neurodivergent brains, we have phenomenal pattern recognition. We can identify things much quicker than those with neurotypical brains. And so we get put into gifted and talented classes, and we learn that our worth is value-based. And okay, well, you're so good, you have to do this to get praise.
I mean, you will know this hopefully, but does that also mean that when someone with autism gets identified as being high functioning and then goes into a sort of a higher level class, does that mean it also brings out some of their frailties in that scenario, which they can't deal with?
Yeah, I think it did for a long time. We have now moved into, instead of high functioning and low functioning, at least over here, autism has now been broken down into 3 levels. Level 1, and it's all by support needs. Level 1 is low support needs on a day-to-day basis. Level 2 is moderate support needs, and level 3 is high support needs. So, like, high support needs, you might need a device for talking. You might need a caregiver watching you 24 hours a day. Like, they're the ones who are very high needs.
Yeah.
I am considered a level 1, which is low support needs. It can, and with the other terminology back then, it would be, I am high functioning. is I can do all the things, but they moved away from that terminology because they realized that autistic brains, we can be high functioning and low functioning at the same time. I can do all of these things. I cannot cook. That is where my support needs come in on a more day-to-day basis. I can come in and I can make a bowl of cereal. I can air fry something, but cooking in general has such a low return on investment. I don't do it. I am happy my kids are as alive and thriving as they are because it was not me bringing in the food.
Yeah.
And I think with kiddos, when they are in the general education classes, if the teachers are not prepared and understand neurodivergent brains, the teachers are going to have a really hard time because these kiddos' brains work on rapid fire, but still struggle in different areas. And so it's like herding cats for, a classroom of kids anyway. But then if the kiddo or their family doesn't know the best ways to work within that kiddo's brain, it's just hard for everybody.
It's a hand grenade for organization, not necessarily a hand grenade for the children, but it's a hand grenade for organization, isn't it? Yeah, that's tough. You're 35 and you get, did you say you're 35, somebody suggested it to you and you were around 40 when you were diagnosed? What does that feel like then? How does the diagnosis affect you that day?
In two different ways. One, it's incredibly frustrating for the American healthcare system. I had to fund my assessments completely out of pocket. Insurance does not pay for it. And so a lot of people, a lot of adults are not able to get these testings because insurance says, well, no, you've got a job, you've got a family, you've got this, you don't need a diagnosis. So part of me, when I was in the phase between being self-diagnosed and then being fully diagnosed, I found a lot of beauty and ownership and just the learning about my brain and learning that my brain is different and finding ways to build accommodations for myself. And that built upon my idea for advocacy, for saying, even if you were not fully diagnosed, your brain, it still might be going different. And they just talking about the power of learning about your brain. But then once I was officially diagnosed, it was like I was able to let go of a breath that I didn't realize I was holding. Because it's oh my gosh, okay, my brain is like this. I felt seen in ways that for my whole life, I hadn't felt seen.
Do you, is there, other than that element of it, and obviously a better understanding, if you were confident enough that you were autistic but hadn't been identified medically as being autistic, is there an advantage to you to being medically diagnosed with autism?
I'm sure there's going to be other people who can say, yes, there's an advantage. For me, at the lower level that I am, there's not. I don't know that I see a difference between being officially diagnosed and unofficially diagnosed. There's not medication that can help me for it. There's not resources or other things I am able to get. The people who are maybe higher on the levels might be able to get more government assistance in different ways.
Yeah.
But for my end of the spectrum, no. It was more advantageous for me to get diagnosed with ADHD because then I could talk to a doctor about medication. I got to try Adderall for the first time and have my brain slow down and be quiet. And it was amazing.
That's interesting because but psychologically, it was advantageous. That's the where it came.
Yeah. It absolutely was
that recognition.
Yeah. It took away that shame component of I am wrong. I've been doing something wrong. And that could be just, the internalized guilt and shame of why can't I get this right? Why can't I make friends the way that other people can make friends? Why can I not do this or do this or do this? When it was just kind of built within my brain that it's a little bit different. Harder time making friends. Okay. For me, in the span of learning about myself, I learned I've got about a 3-hour time limit for socialization. And my friend group knows it. And they absolutely, it is just a not talked about hilarious thing that if we hit the 3-hour moment, I'm probably going to disappear. Whether I say goodbye or not, my brain has hit that limit and says, I need to go.
Yeah.
And instead of pushing through, and no, I have to stay. I have to do this. This is what the society says we need to do. And then falling apart later on. I started working within my brain and saying, I actually want to feel better later on. I'm going to leave and take care of myself versus force myself to stay.
What does falling apart later on look like?
It tends to look like, well, I guess it's all different things. Because if I push down sensory issues, I have a really hard time with auditory issues. And so being around big crowds and the visual chaos, and then it's like you push down the stress and anxiety, you push it down. And so when you go home, it almost feels debilitating. You get into your safe space, and then I might not talk and just say a word for hours, and wearing clothes that just feel absolutely comfortable, because if something uncomfortable is touching me, my body is going to say, no, we're on fire. This does not feel good. They need to panic. And it's kind of like it's an internal meltdown. For kids, we see it as an external meltdown. They are screaming, throwing themselves on the floor. They are just like flopping like fish in a grocery store, just like they're having a hard moment. For me, that feels internal because I have gotten to the age where I can have it be internal.
And are you exhausted?
All the time.
Yeah. All the time, or all the time when you're exposed to those overwhelming situations?
All the time with the exposure to the overwhelming situations. It feels, my friend actually, who talked to me about this, his name is Josh, he's a fellow therapist. He put it very accurately. It feels like you are hungover, but you've not had a night of drinking. And so you just feel depleted.
You described going into something for so long and being forced to remain there for longer. In my head, that feels like going to a rock concert, and when you get home, you've got that ringing in your ears, and it continues to ring even when you're going to bed. It's disturbing you, you know. And is that the kind of? I mean, obviously it's different to that, but is that the kind of hangover that comes from it?
Yeah, the hangover. It feels. For me, if I push myself too much, and I push myself in peopling, in hanging out with friends, in going and doing things beyond my level of comfortability, the next day, my whole body feels as though it's been filled with sand.
Yeah.
And it feels as though finding words to say is pushing through a brain filled with molasses. That words are there, but it's very hard to find them and articulate.
And just keeping ADHD aside, because I know you want to go there and I want to go there as well, but this I know a little bit about ADHD, partly because I do suffer with ADHD, but probably don't know as much as I should. But does diet affect you, and how
Be certain there is far more connections for the brain gut connectivity within all brains. I know for me, I love bread, but bread does not love me back. And so if I eat bread, my body feels like it's burning from the insides. And I know that's going to give me a harder day. But in Texas, we love our burgers with buns, our rolls. We love our bread. And so wherever we go out, there's that. With alcohol, that's something that would affect. And it's not that I am sober, but I have not chosen to drink in many years because it would make my anxiety worse the next day. And so I had finally gotten to the point of, I don't want to feel anxious the next day. Why do I need to do this? Like, I don't have to drink just because society says it's a norm. I can go have a soda.
So it's hard to decide then, because I believe that there are lots of life hacks that we can all do, you know, that make our lives slightly better today and tomorrow. And I'm the same. Last August, I stopped drinking. I don't drink anymore. I could drink today if I want to. I'm not an alcoholic, but I don't want to. I have a very good friend who says, and he is a recovering alcoholic of 30 years. And the reason I stopped drinking is we went to a festival together and I just didn't want to drink in front of him. He's not bothered, but I just didn't want to. And he said, and how do you feel today? Well, I don't feel bad. And he said, well, there you go. Nobody ever gave up drinking and felt worse, you know, and that's how I see it. And the same with diet. Like you say, I've been trying to lose some weight, so I don't eat as much bread. When I do eat bread, it's like I've got a fire inside of me. And whether that's connected with my psychology or not, it makes me feel no good tomorrow or today. So all of those little things, and I think perhaps those things get worse as you get older. I don't know if you found that.
I think so too. Yeah. I definitely found it out for myself, at least, that it gets worse as we get older.
So again, you know, why make your life harder? I mean, occasionally, but why make your life harder? And if all of those things mean that the side effects of ADHD for me and the other things you're describing are difficult enough, why add those things on top, you know?
Well, it's actually, I love I love talking about the drinking component, because for us, for Americans, alcohol is it's built into our society. It's after work, let's go out for beers. It's on a weekend, let's go do this. There's a festival, let's go grab a drink. Like, there's not many places where alcohol is not served, and the expectation that it's fine, it's normal. And so for a long time, for me, choosing not to drink, I was the abnormal human. And everyone else, we have drink. I was never bothered by other people drinking. It's not like, oh my gosh, you can't drink around me. It's like, no, it just makes my insides not feel great. I don't want to feel that way later on. But prior to me having that revelation, drinking made it easier to talk to people. Having alcohol in my system made the anxiety easier, like that to go away. And it's like, okay, well, I feel like I have to drink in order to be cool in my brain and talk to these people in the way that they can talk and respond on an everyday basis. It felt like I got to be on the same page with them, on the same level.
Yeah, that's what it does. It alters your inhibitions, and your inhibitions became similar to those around you. And was that a nice feeling?
It was. It felt good. And that's the hard part about this, is the choosing not to drink. It means choosing to stay in the feeling uncomfortable. And
that's a shame.
It's picking our level of discomfort. Do I want to be uncomfortable now but feel physically better tomorrow? Or do I want to be comfortable now and be miserable tomorrow? Or for me, tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. Because as you get older, it definitely hits you harder, or hit me harder.
You see, I don't think here it's a great deal different to that. But I do think, from what I've seen, I've never been to the US, so I could be speaking out of turn, but I do think that the US seems to be far more black and white with things. It seems to be yes or no, as opposed to moderation in the middle. And even down to your radio stations, you have a rock radio station and a country radio station, whereas here we have a radio station that plays all of them, And I think, when I go out with my mates, as much as they like a beer, and historically, I think in England, what we tend to do is we'll go out in an evening and absolutely get smashed. The idea is to go and get smashed. Whereas I think we're quite famous for it in the UK, that's how we drink. We go out and we drink what we drink in a week in about 4 hours, And for me, that's now something that I look at. I think as I've got older, I've just thought, I just don't fancy that. And then you get pressured. And for me, it's actually easier now to say I don't drink, because there's no pressure. So it's a lot easier to say I drink sometimes, and then they'll go, well, come on then, rather than now it's I don't drink. So they get off, And we've got there's a load of really good non-alcoholic beers coming out in the UK. I don't know if there is over there, but we get like Guinness Zero. And I like beer. I just don't I don't want to drink alcohol. So a lot of my favorite ale producers, proper beer, not lager, like in England we call it ale, they're starting to produce non-alcoholic beers that taste not like something that's been made in a bucket, by some scientist. It actually tastes similar to what the beers used to taste like. So that's nice, but it doesn't sound like that's the same over there.
It's getting there. It's getting here on our side. What I've seen is there is more mocktails coming up, and it's the cocktails without the alcohol in them, because this next generation, they're the ones that are like, no, I don't want to drink. I don't want to put poisons in my body. I don't want to do this or this or this. And so they are very much saying, I want something else. And that has been forcing companies to come up with variations. Like, if they still want people to come out to their bar, they need to offer non-alcoholic drinks that still taste good and look good, and allow them to be part of that community without the judgment or the shame of, oh my gosh, you're not drinking. And I absolutely agree with you. It was easier for me once I said I don't drink versus I only drink a little bit, because that gave wiggle room to push.
Absolutely. And I've told people that, even the people I'm out with, why don't you drink? Well, because it's just easier to say I don't drink. That's why, genuinely is why. But yeah, and I don't need it. If you're similar to me and you do seem to be a bouncy, outgoing person, certainly at the moment, I don't need a drink. Everybody else can have a drink, and I'm daft enough, So actually, the opposite to you, it brought you down to their level. It brings them up to mine.
That's so funny. Yes. And it's really cool for the idea of masking and like the chameleon human suit. This is one of the masks that I have kind of created as my persona is going out and meeting people and talking to people. I tend to be pretty up and bubbly and weird and just quirky because I've owned it for so long. But in things like this, I love podcasts. I love the ability to meet people, and I love them virtual because I have a really hard time with eye contact. And so with doing this, It looks like we're making eye contact, but I'm talking to you on a computer. And so it just makes it so much easier for the stigma of, oh, they don't make eye contact because it hurts. And yes, there are some research studies that talk about autistic brains that the feelings neurotypicals get if they don't make eye contact, and then it kind of hurts. Like, it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't look at them in the eyes, and they feel that. It's actually flipped around for neurodivergents in that if they are looking at people in the eye, they actually get these physical sensations of it hurts a little bit. For me, I don't have that. It doesn't hurt to look people in the eyes, but my brain is so on with, okay, you looked them in the eye. Now look away. Have you looked away too long? You have to go look back in their eyes. Oh, look at that eyebrow. It has a really long hair. And I just get super focused on the societal norm of look at them in the eye, that I'm not listening to what they're saying because my head is trying so hard to make sure I'm making appropriate eye contact.
I'm so glad I trimmed my beard before we spoke, because all you would have been doing would be looking at the stray hairs. I like the blue and green in your hair, by the way. My wife's a hairdresser, so I have to acknowledge these things, and I do like the blue in your hair.
Thank you. What is really cool about this, having dyed my hair, and I'll do it myself because I am cheap, and I will rather just spend the hour doing it than spend the $500 having a professional do it and make it look better. Like, I'll do it like, oh, okay. Oh yeah, no, these professionals, like, they earn their money. They've done the training. They know all the science behind it. I am cheap. I will spend $20, but with this, I learned to keep color in your hair, you have to wash your hair in cold water. And so I learned I don't want to take cold showers, so I would wash my hair in the kitchen sink whenever I needed a refresh on the in-between. And that brought me to this realization of neurodivergence, executive functioning, clinically, the activities of daily life. Showering, brushing your teeth, getting dressed, doing all of like the things for daily living. We have a harder time with that. I have a very hard time when it comes to showering and brushing my teeth. And so for brushing my teeth as a therapist, I've learned I keep little toothbrushes wherever I go, because my brain says if you don't brush your teeth by 8 o'clock in the morning, clearly we can no longer use the bathroom to brush our teeth, because my brain gets stuck in that rigidity. And so I've had to add in different accommodations. Add toothbrushes everywhere. And it's the same thing with showering. Have you ever heard of spoon theory?
No.
I'm going to nerd out about this. Spoon theory was created years ago for people with invisible illnesses, people with fibromyalgia, people with diabetes, things that you like. It's not a broken arm. You can't see it.
Yeah.
And it's the idea of how much energy we have to give for a day. And we visualize that with spoons. You wake up and you've got 30 spoons for the day. Getting out of bed might take 2 spoons. Showering might take 15 spoons. Going to work might take 10. Like, all these things where you have to decide, where am I giving my energy? Because once those spoons are done, you don't have the energy to give anymore. And for me, showering cost quite a bit of spoons, because it is going from different temperatures, different sensory issues, going from dry to wet, having wet hair touching me, going from cool air to hot water to back to being wet and air touching. And it's a lot of different sensations that made it really hard. So showering has been historically very, very hard for me. And as I work, my day-to-day life is a professional counselor, and I work with adults who are either undiagnosed neurodivergent, or they are newly diagnosed, or they were diagnosed. Yeah, it's all neurospicy brains I work with. And I'm learning showering is one of the hardest things for them to do, because it's such a mind blow when it comes to sensories and just all kinds of different things. So we avoid it. Yeah, it gets overwhelming. And so we don't always have those spoons to give.
So how does that work? So do you not say go swimming? Is that the same, or is that different because it's a different mindset?
For me, it feels almost the same, but it also can be flipped into a different mindset. But I also don't go swimming every day. And so maybe because it's something that in Texas, it's hot. So our pools are open from May through September, October. So my tiny humans would go swimming every day if they could. For me, it's not something I can physically give. But my husband, who's more ADHD than he is autistic, because he very much steps forward with the ADHD, I step forward with the autism. He could go to the pool every day, and that's fine. And they love it. And water is so freeing and it feels wonderful. And for me, it's, I have to work up the mindset to go.
Yeah, I mean, water, I'm as I've said, I've got ADHD, and water for me is like, honestly, if I could be some people would say I am like a whale. If I could be a dolphin or something like that, walrus would probably be a better description maybe for me. But if I could be a dolphin, I'd just live underwater. I love
That's
water.
my husband too. And my daughter. Yeah, they are just and it's funny because me and my son, who is autistic, we're like, it's almost like it's pulling teeth to get us to the water. But once we're in it, we're like, what's this water? This is great.
But it's everything about it as well. Being under it, feeling the pressure of the skin of it, the sound of it in every form, as ice, as a pool in a big body, or as rain on a roof, all of those things I love water. Absolutely love it.
Water, in theory, I love it. I love it in various portions. Touching me, not a fan.
No thanks.
I don't like being caught in the rain. Like these different, because then it causes such overwhelm. And it was funny because I have my son who's 15 now. 15-year-olds, I thought were just stinky boys. Like, okay, well, you just you just smell bad. And oh my gosh, in Texas, we have the hairstyle that is the mullet, where
I've seen it.
Yep. Honestly, in Texas, young boys, they look like alpacas with their hair. They look like llamas. Like it's just big and just longer in the back, and it's glorious and horrifying. Or my kid.
How did the worst hairstyle from the 80s come back? How did it happen?
I don't know that it ever left us, honestly. I think in Texas, we've had it the whole time.
Dear Lord.
And it's funny because my kid doesn't have that hairstyle, but in the way he was washing his hair, he wouldn't wash the top part. He'd only wash the back. So he had a greasy mullet almost. It would just be greasy hair and then clean in the back. And I'm like, I don't get it. What's wrong? And I kept coming in with judgment of, why are you not doing this? What is wrong with you? That's it. So I finally turned my mindset into more of curiosity. What's going on? And I learned his sensory issues. He hated water touching his face. So he would never wash right here. He'd only wash the back because he had such a hard time with that. And so it gave us the words and the pathway to say, okay, let's get something else. And so we got a handheld nozzle so he could control where the water hits, and it's night and day difference. But it was, I didn't even know to look that way to understand it.
Well, the next question I was going to ask you was, how do you, and this might be how long is a piece of string, to be fair, because it might be that there's a million answers to this question, but how do you try to induct somebody into life's expectations in order for them to have a reasonable life and not be bullied, picked on, excluded, you can't go around stinking, unfortunately, because it's just simply not acceptable. So how do you, and you've obviously come up with a system there, but how do you manipulate? Do you have to almost pick which parts of a person's life that they're not willing to partake in are the most important that they need to, or how does that work?
For us in our home life, it comes into just what you said, that you don't want to go around being the smelly kid. That is a conversation we've had almost every day this past school year. Because not only, and you know what, I'm lucky that most boys at this age smell horrible. So he is not the only one, but he is also one where the school is cold and he has the body fat of a skeleton. Like he's got -0 body fat. And so this boy would wear 3 pairs of pants, 4 shirts, and a winter coat all the way up through school. And I'm like, you were just cooking in your body oils. Like, this is gross. No. And so it's trying out different different types of deodorants, different types of alarms for when your alarm goes off at this time, you have to brush your teeth. You have to do this. And for autism brains, we have to be very structured. We can't give okay, well, you can do it around this time, because if there's any version of ish, he's not going to do it. His brain does very well with structure. My brain does very well with structure. My husband does not. Like, structure is good for his brain, but he is just chaos incarnate. And he lives.
That's interesting, because my ADHD has to have structure or I lose everything.
But the ADHD,
I have to put keys in the right place. I have to put my shoes in the same place. All of those things, because if I don't, it will interrupt my life so much. And actually, this podcast makes such a difference because I am so chaotic. If you could see the side of the room that wasn't behind me, it just looks like someone has thrown a grenade in here. But my wife, I think, quite likes the fact that I do this on a semi-regular basis, because I have to tidy it to some extent. I have to get rid of some of the crap and the rubbish and all that kind of stuff. So whilst I know where everything is in the garage, it does look like a dumper truck put everything in there, if you know what I mean. So, but and that's interesting. Your husband can't operate in that same way.
My husband, I have learned, his brain does very well when there is some semblance of structure added in. But I've also learned he will fight against structure with the will of a rebellious young man. But he also understands structure helps to make things less chaotic. And when things are less chaotic, life is easier. And it's just so funny, because ADHD, that's just, it's pushing against everything. And not because rebel without a cause. It's just the brain says, nope, not going to do that.
Yeah, there's a level of fear to it, isn't it? I think you and I are going to have part 2 of this, because I don't think we're going to get enough of this within an hour. Moving on to ADHD, I agree with you. I grew up, I argued every point. I could not say sorry. I could not say I was wrong. I could not play that the way I was doing something wasn't the way it should be done. I would argue with all of the teachers. I went to a school with over 100 teachers, and I've put it in my book. I reckon I was sent out of the class by every single teacher I was ever taught by. But I don't think many of them disliked me. I think it was my passion that just made me unruly on those days. And for God's sake, I've told you 10 times now, you're going to have to go outside. But I've now totally flipped it. And I don't know how I flipped it, but I've realized all of those things just held me back.
Well, and think of the message you were getting when you were younger, that just by being you had to go be isolated. Being you was too much. And that is a message neurodivergent brains are given almost from the womb. We are too much. You feel too much. You argue too much. You are too weird. You are too lazy. I don't know if you were the kid in school. I was the kid that I would do my homework, but for some reason I wouldn't turn it in.
Homework?
Or I would wait until the last minute to get it done. I didn't even have a good reason for doing it. I would just like, you can't make me do my homework, or you can make me do my homework. You can't make me turn it in.
Yeah. And I'm terrible at putting the thing off that I don't want to do, to the point where now I have to do everything straight away. Particularly, I prioritize the things I don't want to do so that they don't become the thing that I never do. And when you work in a working life, you just simply can't do that.
Yeah. I use the phrase, I have to eat the ugly frog first.
Yeah. Swallow a frog. That's what my boss always says. Swallow a frog.
And it's like, okay, well, if I do the thing that I don't want to do first, if I prioritize it, everything else is fun. Everything else is dessert.
Yeah, but it's a hard thing to train yourself to do. But I think ironically, you only have to do it once to realize the value of it as well. You've done it the opposite a million times, but actually you realize just doing it once made you feel, that was good, but I'm not going to do it again.
What? And doing it once and you're like, oh, this feels nice. But then it still takes 15, 16, 17 different times for you to have to repeat it to say, but was that really right? But was that?
How did you manage with these aspects of your life and having a military father? Now, I may be making assumptions, but most people who live in a military family have quite, particularly, I think strictness tends to come with military fathers. And I think that's partly because of their rhythm and their rigmarole. It's all about hierarchy and orders, isn't it? How did that work for you?
I actually think that's probably one of the things that really helped to make me internally stabilized as much as I was for, and we moved every like 3 to 4 years. So it wasn't every year that we would move and start over. So I had a good chunk of time. But my father he was the one who would alphabetize the meats in the freezer. He would organize his socks in drawers. He would do all these things, and it was amazing. And it was so funny because it's something that my mom still talked about. Like, he would do this, and it's just because his life was so routine, we were able to maintain a routined life at home. And I think that really helped. It's something that I have taken into for a solid moment. Like, my husband now is my second love in life. And so there was a long time where I was a single mom that I had to be very structured. I had to have everything put together in order to be a mom and to be a worker and to be doing everything that I was doing, because if not, things just struggled more. And I learned, let's just not struggle as much.
Yeah, I think that again, that's something that's probably why I adopted a lot of the changes, because you realize things like finances, they're not accommodating if you don't do them right. There's no, I'll hand my homework in next week with the bank, and or even with work, if you don't turn up, you don't keep your job. So all of those things perhaps automatically force you into having some structure similar to your dad.
Yeah.
But you perhaps recognize that if you don't do it, and I do feel terribly sorry for the people who fall outside of that, who still can't do it despite that, and then find themselves in terrible, terrible situations because of it. That must just be awful.
A lot of my clients, and I love them so much, they're learning how to structure their lives. They're learning how to start projects that they may have been pushing out against. And sometimes we are starting from the very basic, like, let's set up a schedule for showering. Let's add in toothbrushes in different areas because your brain says it can only be done here. And so it's taking the people who come to me and say, I'm struggling. And then we say, let's work on struggling less. We don't need to. And what I love about the version of therapy that I do something called solution focused. And
let's talk about that.
I'm not going deep into, well, tell me about your father. Tell me about what it was as a baby. It's where are you struggling right now? Okay, I'm struggling with this. Let's work on doing this and fixing this so this anxiety is not hitting you immediately later on. Let's hit the moment of how you're feeling and then work our way backwards. And so we stabilize in the moment and we learn how to grow within where we're at. And then we can step it backwards to see maybe where it came from. But a lot of times we don't need to know where it came from. We just need to know how to go from where we are now.
And does that mean that if you can establish it with one tiny habit, as it were, you can try and roll that out across other areas of somebody's life?
Yes. The one thing I will say, and I know we're getting closer to being at time, the one thing I will say with ADHD, we have a 100% failure rate for habits. So I've gotten in the habit of waking up at 7 o'clock in the morning every day. Something's going to happen where you don't wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning and then everything falls off. And it's like, oh no, I'm not in that habit anymore. And it can be, well, I'm eating healthy while I'm doing this, and we can get into these habits, and then a 100% failure rate of it's going to fall off. But the beauty of that is that doesn't mean that we can't start again. That doesn't mean that we can't go 2 weeks of waking up at 8:30 and then saying, I'm going to get back on and wake up at 7. And it's just, that's where people get stuck, is they feel that I failed, I can't do this. Well, I'm not going to do it anymore ever. And it's like, no. And that's where we come in with that. It's okay to start again. There's nothing wrong with that. It's okay to say that, all right, my brain did not understand this, but now it does.
But you see, I know that. And when I fail at something, I know that. I know the next day, whether, weight loss is a great example, because you go along, you have a cake. That's not the end of any weight loss. But, I'll have 10 cakes,
Yeah.
And for me, it's going on holiday. You go on holiday, you have, all you can eat buffets, you can eat and you fall off the wagon. But coming back, it's almost like I rebel against myself to getting back on the wagon. That the problem isn't getting back on the wagon. It's I won't be told by me to go and do that.
That's exactly right. We are our own worst enemies so much of the time.
Yeah. So, that's not good. Well, I don't want to finish because I want to grab you again. I want to do another hour and we can wear different clothes and pretend like nothing changed. But
that's
I want to do more. Is that okay? But I can see your cat's tail.
Yeah. My cat. Let's see if I could get him This is Ninja.
Hey!
He
Ninja's
is
a great
one
name.
of the he will join me in almost every therapy session because I swear he can feel the emotions of my clients through the computer. And so he will come and sit with them. Apparently now he's deciding he needs to be part of the microphone.
Maybe he thinks he is the microphone.
Yeah.
But, well, I want to talk Comic-Cons in the future. I want to talk more about you and your journey. But just in case we end up doing a separate episode and we put this one out and do a separate one, I'd just like to talk to you about where you are now and how that journey has changed you. So, a little bit about what advice would you offer, but also how have you got where you are and how do you feel now?
A lot of looking inwards and saying, and it's breaking through the shame mentality of, and this could be a Texan thing, this could be an American thing, this could be a global international thing. I don't know. It's the shame of, why can't I do this right? Why am I always getting kicked out of the classroom? Why am I wrong? And then in turning that into saying, but it's not, I'm not wrong. I'm not broken. I'm not bad. I'm different. And different, and this is my favorite phrase, is different does not mean less.
That is good. Because I've put quite a bit in my book about forgiveness, and I'm not religious, but I think forgiveness is probably one of the biggest parts of the Bible that actually I think we should probably all adopt a bit more, whether it's the guy that shouts at you when you come out of a junction in your car and they spoil the rest of your day, even though they've not given it a second thought and you're never going to see them again. Or that little kid that got sent out of all those classrooms, or, the person that was masking. I've forgiven them, and they didn't do anything wrong. They didn't need, but that forgiveness allowed me to draw a line in the sand of a bit, I think you've referred to it as the old you.
Yes, the old you. In my therapy term, it's the pre-healed you. It's the you who didn't know better. The you who didn't know about how cool your brain really is.
Yeah. Have you heard Paris Hilton talk about ADHD?
No.
Oh, mate, you have to get her book. But she refers to it as a superpower. And I had lots of preconceptions about Paris Hilton. And she appeared on my favorite radio show over here, Virgin Radio, on Chris Evans' breakfast show. He has all sorts of amazing guests on a regular basis. But he had Paris Hilton on, and her story is quite incredible. And her understanding of ADHD changed her life forever. And she changed my life in the fact that I've never understood why people saw ADHD as holding them back. For me, it was always my propellant. It was the thing that got me into the area that I shouldn't be in, or that was really good fun, or it was the thing that got me access to meeting somebody I'd never, a famous person when nobody else met them, all those kind of things. It's that, go and do it. And they're like, well, I'll be embarrassed. I don't care about being embarrassed. Let's go. And to some extent, I think that was it. But you really should look into it, because Paris Hilton's,
I'm going to look into it.
Look at it. It's brilliant. Really, really good.
You know what? I've actually, with her, same with you, I held a lot of preconceived notions. But as I've learned about her, just as who she is as a human throughout life, it's really changed my view. And that's what I love about podcast world, advocacy world, inclusivity, is you get to learn and relearn about people who you had prejudged.
I think the biggest thing that we as humans, the biggest mistake we can make, and again, it goes with the neurospicy stuff, the biggest mistake we can make is being so stubborn that we don't change our mind. And I think if we fail to change our mind, we just fail at being a human, because, we all have opinions that most of them are given to us by our parents as children as we grow up to start with, or whatever. And then you meet your mates and your mates say, oh, don't listen to your parent about that. And you think, yeah, I'm going to rebel against my parents. But then you become an adult and you form political beliefs or whatever. But again, political beliefs, once you've seen something happen, you can think, oh, well, I'm changing my political beliefs. You don't have to remain a colour or a brand or, but you're a fool if you don't change your mind. So,
you know what? I see that in every area of life, is allowing yourself to be open-minded.
Hell yeah. And again, that goes with forgiveness. It goes with accepting people,
so much fun.
Learning languages, doing your accents, all of those kind of things. It's just about rejoicing in what makes us different is actually wonderful. I'm going to call this a pause. So anybody who's listening, if we get anywhere, this is a pause on our chat. If you don't mind, because I've really enjoyed speaking with you, and I think we've got so many more things to cover. So even if we release this as one episode, I'd love to come back and talk to you again about other things, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
And it's been a
Yes,
joy
yes,
to meet
yes.
you. And now we have met. Now we can say we're pals or we're mates in this country.
That's right. Yes. Oh, that's so much fun. I cannot wait to come back and finish and talk or have a whole new episode.
And you can nearly look me in the eye.
This is exciting.
And now you can watch some of my other episodes.
Yes, now I'm able to.
Lovely to meet you, Kristen. Thank you so much for joining us. Are you feeling overwhelmed, stuck, or like you're quietly falling apart? You're not broken. You're not alone. The Pie Eating Man's Guide to a Healthy Mind isn't written by a guru. It's written by yours truly, Mark Grimes, a regular bloke and mental health survivor. I've spent 25 years navigating anxiety, depression, grief, ADHD, and stress. And now I share a funny, unfiltered, and deeply personal guide for anyone who wants to feel better. It's not a typical self-help book. Whether you're struggling or supporting someone who is, this book is here to help. It's here to make you feel less alone, more informed, and better equipped to handle the nonsense that life throws at us. The Pie Eating Man's Guide to a Healthy Mind is now out and available on Amazon. All you have to do is search on Amazon and it will come up. Or you can contact me using the email or Instagram, and I can arrange for a signed copy to be sent out to you. So grab yourself a copy or somebody else who needs it. You've got nothing to lose but the weight off your mind.
I needed to go get this fancy book that just arrived in the mail. It just arrived yesterday in the evening, so I didn't open it until this morning.
Oh, that's magic.
Oh, it's so cool.
I think you are my first international customer.
And it's funny, I just opened up, what is ADHD?
Yeah, there you go. And well, you're not allowed to read that bit while we're on here because you might find that it's entirely wrong. And
That's fine, because we can just say that's what it is over in the UK.
yeah, exactly.
One thing that's different in America that we have in our house, but is not very common, is we have an electric water kettle.
Oh, really? Yeah, that is rare.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we have it because it heats up water really quickly, and we love it.
Yeah. I mean, when we go abroad, we do not know what to do with ourselves if there's no kettle.
That's you use the coffee pot.
Yeah, and I wouldn't know where to start.
That's
This is great. I want to do one episode of this podcast where you and me just do wow about where we live compared to where you live.
I love that. I've got on my side
Yeah, you've
two
got books. haven't you?
workbooks.
Yeah, they're the ones I have to look at.
Yes, they are all just created to learn about autism brains and
So is
different
that
things.
for school age children?
no, it's for
It's
adults.
for everybody. It's
For
just
everybody.
approachable.
Yeah.
Marvelous.
That one, and then this one's more of like a journal and a whole bunch of different writing prompts, but it's the like, what does weird mean to me and how can I celebrate it? It's not your traditional, how was your day? How are you doing?
Yeah, yeah. So let's pretend like no time has passed. I have actually put the same clothes on.
I'm not even wearing the same clothes, nor in the same spot.
Eagle-eyed viewers among the people who are watching it and not listening to it will notice that I look exactly the same. You don't look exactly the same. They'll notice also that a little thing has appeared over my shoulder that you won't be able to see, I don't think, because we're on like a portrait picture. But there's let's just, ta-da! There we go. So there's a book. I've also got, in an attempt to try and look like other podcasters on the TV, on the YouTube, I've got a purple light behind me.
Oh, you are very fancy.
Yeah, that is fancy. Straight in from China and sellotaped up and stuff, so I'm sat in front of it so you can't see it.
It does have that nice ambiance.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked a bit about you, and there is a subject I'd like to talk about before we go on to serious stuff again, and that is Comic-Con.
Okay.
Because I've never been to a really good Comic-Con. I've been to a local Comic-Con, which is good, and we had some, really cool people there. And there was the obligatory elves from Lord of the Rings and the Jedis that just throw their lightsabers around and stuff. And I love it. I'm a massive Star Wars fan, massive Lord of the Rings fan. But you've worked at them.
I did them in Texas, so they are not the huge one that is in California every year. We get the mildly big ones. So I did the Comic-Cons in Texas. I worked for a newspaper that my best friend's mom opened up. And I said, can I be press? And I started emailing events saying, I want to shoot this. I want to do this. I want to do this. And they started sending me press passes.
What element of your personality was it that did that? I mean,
that's where my hyperfixation came in. And
this fish is not getting away.
Right? And my, unbridled confidence that it was going to work. And they said yes. And I took that yes and I ran with it.
Nice.
And I grabbed a very old camera that I had. So I know how to take pictures. I can do this. And this was before AI came in to help write articles. So I had to create articles on my own, and I'm not a writer. So I would just fling things together. But thankfully, my pictures made it worth it. And I learned at these events that if you walk in with, you hold your head high and you're like, I'm press, I need to go backstage. Nobody bats an eye. And
Really?
So I managed to weasel my way backstage to meeting every celebrity I wanted to.
Amazing.
And it was so cool. I'm still kind of caught off guard that nobody told me no. But it's just like, nope, here's my badge. Here's a camera. I'm not afraid to say I need to go back there. I think if I had said, hey, can I go back there, and responded a little bit meeker, they would have been like, no. But it's all the phrasing that you say it.
I do think if you do things with confidence in those scenarios, you get away with it quite a lot.
Well, you do. It's that whole better to ask forgiveness than permission.
Absolutely. And I think even then, sometimes when you go and if you're polite and kind with the person, even if they don't give you access, next time you see them, you say, hi, I remember you,
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes that still turns into access at some point.
It's just it's a version of networking, and I'm so much on the belief that being kind pays off more often than not.
I agree.
If you go in and just kind of demand things, or if you act very ugly in spirit, people will respond in the same way.
Yeah, I agree. And I also believe my mum brought me up to say, you don't ask, you don't get. If you don't try, you definitely will not.
In my head, I'm like, the worst they can say is no. And if I don't ask, it'd be a no anyway.
Yeah. And did you meet some cool people?
I did. My favorite one was getting to meet Stan Lee.
Oh,
And
wow.
not only did I get to meet him, I got to be on stage with him on New Year's Eve as we counted down to the new year. And so
when was this?
This was 2016, I believe.
So not long before he passed
Not
away.
long before he passed. Yeah. It was incredible. He was up there. He called his wife. And then everyone together was just cheering on. And so I have a picture of me standing behind, taking a picture of him looking out into the crowd.
That's amazing.
It was so cool.
Really? And was he a nice chap?
He was. He was just like a nice old man, because he was probably 92, 93 at that time. He was there not for money, not for anything, just because it's like, these are the people who love what I created. I want to go out and I want to say hi to
And I think he loved
them.
it. He seemed to love it as well, didn't he?
He did.
And that twang, that New York twang that he had is
Oh
just
my
beautiful,
gosh.
wasn't it?
That was awesome.
Yeah.
It was just so cool.
Yeah.
And I got to meet the actor who played Chewbacca in Star Wars.
Peter Mayhew.
Peter Mayhew. He actually lived a couple cities away from me, and so
I've met him as well, and he lived a couple of cities away from me because he's from Sheffield, I think.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
And him and his wife came, and their favorite thing to do was to just cover people in glitter to support Carrie Fisher. And so they would just come and just douse everyone in glitter.
Because, I mean, he must have passed away not long after that as well. Are you sure? I don't think you should be meeting any of these people anymore.
No, I've not met.
You're a terrible omen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's like, okay, maybe there's a reason why I don't go to those conventions anymore.
Yeah, no, but I met Peter Mayhew once. He was really nice. And I met Kenny Baker, who was the guy inside of R2-D2.
Oh,
and I met
awesome.
I met David Prowse. And if you look up there, you see that picture of Darth Vader? That's an album cover, like an LP.
Yeah.
And he signed that. So
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Let's see now. I'm a huge nerd for Doctor Who, and so I've gotten to meet most of the doctors. And Karen Gillian, she's just
I don't know who Karen Gillian is.
She is the redhead who played the companion for one of the doctors, but she's also played in the Marvel movies.
Yes. Scottish.
Yes.
Yeah, and what was her character called in Doctor Who? Can't remember. Not Rose.
Not Rose.
That's going to annoy me.
Amy Pond.
Amy Pond. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool because she's a big movie star now.
She is. It was so much fun, and this was really like 8 or 9 years ago that I got to do a lot of those things. It was before
that is cool.
I got more established as being a therapist and had to do the adult work.
I met Sylvester McCoy.
I met him too.
Yeah, he's lovely.
He's so cute.
Yeah, and I got to talk Radagast with him because he's obviously from Lord of the Rings as well.
That's true. Oh my gosh.
And is it Philippa Forrester, his assistant? So yeah, we had a really good turnout one year. They had loads of really big people. So that was cool. And you did quite a few of those.
Yeah, I did. Every chance I could, I would find different things to do. And so I think I did one a year for 3 or 4 years, and I tried to do multiple ones because I think they came out 2 times a year. So I would just try to go every 6 months, spend 16 hours a day walking around and taking pictures of people who had spent months working on their costumes.
I mean, some of them are just breathtaking, aren't they?
Yeah.
And at both ends of the scale, some of them are breathtakingly amazing, and some of them you think, that is breathtaking, but for all of the wrong reasons.
You know what? But one thing I came to understand is everyone who goes there goes because they love it. And if they are not the body type that would be seen in a Hollywood movie for wearing their costumes, they still did it. Who cares? They had fun.
It's very neurodivergent friendly,
isn't
it?
Oh, it is.
Yeah, I remember when I was going around, and actually, interestingly, what you've just said, there were people there who clearly would not function comfortably in everyday society, and they were in their element. And I was given such joy to find people who otherwise find everyday life difficult, in pure joy. And that was such a reward.
One thing that I actually found really interesting is the genre of that, the people who dress in animal costumes, the furries.
Yes.
In America, they've gotten it's more of a sexualized.
Yes, I think it's similar here,
yeah.
Yes.
But I actually learned that a lot of people who are neurodivergent, they really enjoy doing that because if they're wearing a mask, they don't have to make eye contact. They don't have to engage. They don't have to talk. And so it's a very safe space for them to be in and still be around everybody.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
And lovely.
And I thought that was so cool. Then I'm like, of course we make it sexualized.
Of course.
Why don't we take something and then just make it? In America, we are very much still in a puritanical country to where sex is considered deviant.
Yeah.
And
I don't think it's quite like that here, but I do think sort of that side of things is not generally accepted and is ridiculed or, seen as odd.
Sex in general and talked about is seen as odd over here.
Yeah. Well, you don't like talking about toilets because in the UK, if we need to go to the loo, we say, I'm just going to the toilet. And apparently I was told that in America, that's like quite a rude thing to say.
Oh, that's
you would say,
funny.
I'm going to the bathroom.
I'm going to the bathroom.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even perceive it as rude so much as just the
Weird.
vernacular is different.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't have thought it was, but yeah, I that's what I heard. If you would say to people, I'm going to the bathroom because it's considered, I don't know if it's base or what, but it's just an unusual thing to say. And that's what we all say, where's the toilet, please?
Yeah,
Was in the bathroom. No, I don't mean that. Where's the bathroom?
Funny. Oh yeah, I could see it. You come over here. Where's the toilet? In the bathroom? It's in the bedroom? Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
I tell you what I do like about American vernacular, and my friend who lives in Cayman Islands has absolutely taken it on board, is that the way you refer to strangers as ma'am and sir.
In Texas, that is very big.
Yeah, well, I just think over here, when I first started work, I worked in customer service quite a lot, and we would always say madam and sir. But recently, I've got staff who've been asked not to say, because we have a member of staff who's American, she says ma'am and sir, and people complain. And you think, why? What would you rather?
For some people, they're perceived as old.
Maybe.
But for us, we'll even say that to small children. I'll get on to my daughter, my 12-year-old, I'm like, ma'am, what?
But I like it when someone like a teacher or somebody who's even just an older person says to a child, please, can you go and do this? Even if it's your mum. And they say, yes, ma'am. I just like that. I just think it's a really nice level of respect, and you know where you stand. What would you say in your life have been the biggest turning points?
I've had quite a few moments of kind of like different pathways opening up. Getting divorced when I was 27. I had a 3-year-old and a 3-month-old. And we were in Connecticut, which is a 28-hour drive from Texas.
And you're not from Texas, though, are you? You're from all over the place.
From all over, but definitely settled down in Texas. This is where my mom lives, and she had flown up. We had packed up my minivan with anything that would fit in there. A baby, a 3-year-old, 3 cats, and then we drove to Texas. It took us 4 days, and I ended up living with her for almost 6 years. Throughout that time, I got both my master's degrees. I worked 5 jobs. I was a solo parent. Well, I had no idea I was ADHD or autistic. At that point in time, I did learn that my son was both ADHD and autistic.
Is there a stigma attached to being a single parent in the US?
Not as much as it used to be.
So it's the same as here, then?
It's more common. There's a bigger shock if you are the dad and you have custody of the kid.
Yeah, I think that's probably the same here as well.
Especially in Texas. In Texas, dads just get absolutely dragged through the mud. Like, they have to almost prove that the mom is setting their kids on fire in order to get custody of their kids. So for me, it wasn't abnormal. What I did is every job that I worked was always house cleaning, or I worked for 2 different churches because I could bring my kids with me. And so every job that I did, I could bring my kids with. So I didn't have to pay for daycare, because you have to pay for that over here. Everything in America costs money. And so I would do my schoolwork in the evenings or during nap time. And I would work at odd hours or random times. And I was so incredibly grateful to have a mom that, even though we didn't necessarily get along very well, I have cats that are starting war behind me. My mom would always show her support by showing up, by offering a place for us to stay.
Yeah. And that the value of that is not insignificant, is it?
It's
I don't think people realize that.
It is it's not. When growing up, I always had this image of like, parents are this warm and huggy and loving, and, they're just going to embrace you with their words and warmth and love. And I did not have that. I had a mom who would always get things done, though. She would be the one who would, show up to every event. She would tell people behind my back that she was proud of me. And so everyone would know she was proud. But I didn't hear it as much, but I didn't need to. And looking back as an adult now, I can see that. As a kid, it was different.
Yeah, and difficult.
And difficult. And so through adult eyes, I can come back and I can rewrite the story of what my childhood was in just ways that I didn't see it before.
Do you think your mum's neurodivergent?
Oh, very much so.
And that's probably why.
I have sent her assessments to kind of like try to get her to do it. And she knows all my tricks. So she'll just take the assessments and then just completely come off as neurotypical. And I'm like, that's not right. That's not right. Don't you do that. And oh my gosh, it's so, the generations above mine, they're so interesting because they weren't raised with mental health as an okay thing. They weren't raised that, like, we know what autism is or ADHD is. Just, well, you just go take Ritalin and you just go be the bad kid.
Yeah. Or going for a run around the garden.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tire yourself out.
Yeah. Tire yourself out. Go outside and not be seen or heard.
Yeah. I mean, I was never not be seen nor heard, but it was. I think if my mum had known ADHD existed, I think I would have been ADHD. We were called hyperactive when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I used to have a really negative reaction to certain food types. So, food colours, what we call E numbers. I don't think they'll be called. I think because they're European, I think that's what the E comes from. Every food stuff has an E number.
Interesting.
Yeah, so if you look on the back of a food product in the UK, they have a list of E numbers. And have you got a little person?
Yep, they just walked in. That's so funny. They didn't know I was going to be sitting out here.
You did the little person look.
And the little person is taller than I am.
Really? Okay.
Because he's 18 and he's 6'3".
And does he know who the boss is?
No. No.
No. Yeah, but if you look on the back of a food item in the UK, they have a list of the ingredients, and then they'll have a list of E numbers, which often refer to like certain colours and things like that. But yellow, red, blue.
Yep, we have kind of like a red dye number 4.
Yeah, probably the same stuff. You see, in America, you get massive houses as well.
You do. We were actually talking about that before, that in America, in Texas, you get big houses and spread out with land. In New York, all the houses are built up and tall. And they're built together. And my husband was telling me that they do that because and he might totally be wrong, but when we were getting bombed, and fighting off the British, we needed houses that could withstand getting hit with cannons.
That's interesting.
I don't know how true that is, but it stuck in my head. I know there is, I don't want to say epidemic, but the bigger our housing became, like the more spread out our yards and everything, like the less we knew our neighbors.
Yeah. I mean, that's a problem here, I think, as well, but not for the same reason. I think the reason here is that most people travel by car, and therefore you go to work, you get in your car, you go to work, you come back, you park your car. Not many people walk down the street to the local shop anymore or anything like that. So I think that's a major cause of it here.
There's no walkability near us. We are not close to stores. We are not close to anything. And you have to drive everywhere. And
do you think that plays a part on mental health?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, not just mental health, physical health as well.
Yeah, I agree. The moment I started to drive, I put a load of weight on.
I do like with driving, though, you can listen to music. I think music is incredibly good for the soul.
You can do that while you're walking as well, to be fair.
I mean, you can, yes. But I don't know how much everybody does. They might. I don't know. I don't see many people walking. And especially in Texas, where it's so incredibly hot that for the summer period, from May through October, we're basically in our house.
Yeah, you plan your life by air conditioning. You have described one of your most pivotal points was presumably recognizing and walking away from an old version of you or a previous version of you. Tell me about that.
For my entire life, I have felt almost as though I'm an alien and I just kind of wear the disguise of human.
Yep.
And I always thought that was normal. Wearing the disguise, I felt was normal. Now I'm realizing that my normal is just being the alien and just kind of being me, and recognizing that I'm not going to understand all of human behaviors, and that's okay. But it was kind of wearing the mask of, okay, the good student, the friend who will go above and beyond, or who will do this, or who will do this, or who will do this, at the expense of my mental health, at the expense of peace of mind. And panic attack after panic attack after panic attack that was an everyday thing for me. And I just assumed that was normal. Or I had thought, hey, this isn't normal. but I didn't look into the why. I didn't become curious. I just accepted. And so I finally started working with my brain versus against it. And as you were talking about before, how like certain foods you would respond differently to, or different things within the food. For me, I learned a lot of food textures I would have trouble with. Yogurt, cannot eat it. Absolutely cannot eat it without things like granola in it. If it's just, or soup, if it's just a liquid base and there's nothing to chew, my brain cannot handle it. And so instead of forcing myself to eat it, I would say, okay, let me add something to it. Like I can add things to it. I don't have to just accept it as is. And once I started working with my brain, oh my gosh, life became just infinitely easier.
That's what I was going to ask you. And as well as easier, how much or not do you prefer the person that you are now? How much do you like the person you are now?
So much more. I like her so much more. And I didn't dislike the version of me before, but I think I didn't have a knowledge of who she was. She was an amalgamation of expectations that she thought everybody else needed.
Did that make you anxious? Were you an anxious person?
All the time. I think I got diagnosed with anxiety when I was like 12 or 13. I was very, very young.
And has that now dissipated because you are able to be you?
It's not dissipated, but I understand the times when it's going to come in.
Okay.
I understand yesterday. So 2 weeks ago, we went and had our big wedding ceremony. I got to get married to him.
Congratulations.
The year before. Thank you. Thank you. I made him marry me. There goes a cat. This is just a chaotic day.
Oh.
So I made him marry me last year. But that was just for me and him. We wanted a very private, very small. Nobody else came except our two wonderful friends who were our witnesses. But then I said, no, I want to have a big party where everybody gets to see it. And so we've been planning that for the past years. And so I had that, and that was a lot of people together, and everything was focused on me and him, and I didn't get to be not seen. And so because I had all the attention and all the energy that I had to put out there, I'm still recovering from that. And so yesterday, my maid of honor, her 2-year-old who was in the wedding as well as a little ring bearer, it was his birthday. So we went to her party, and there was 50 people there. There was just so many, and kids and babies and adults, and everybody's talking and they're having fun. And there's nothing upsetting about it, but my brain hasn't necessarily come into the reset of I can do peopling yet. And
what does that feel like? Because I don't understand that experience. What does it feel like?
It feels...
If you don't mind describing it.
No, I love the question. I'm going to try to accurately describe this. With a light switch, over for you, do you have dimmer switches where the light can go lower and higher? Okay, so for me, on a normal day, I'm a little bit on the lower end of the light, like the light's on, but it's just a little bit dimmer. And because I'm typically a quiet person, my household is quiet for the most part, which is glorious. And going out, the dimmer switch gets turned on really high and then just maintains on high. So it's the idea of if you're used to kind of a low light and then everything's bright and then it just kind of catches you off guard and you get used to it, but then it starts to hurt your eyes. It's like things are really bright. Things are turned up to a 10 when they're usually a 4. And so going and everything is turned up. It's the auditory, the kid laughing. I was talking to people at the party yesterday. Like, I need to sit in a different room where there's not as much happiness, because happiness comes at higher octaves. And little kids, and their squeals and their giggles and they're having fun. And there's nothing wrong with having fun, but it feels sharper to my brain, which if I am not actively catching myself can make me kind of fussy if I don't have all of my shields built up. And so that's where it's okay, I need to go and make sure I have some drink with ice in it, because a cooler drink makes my insides feel better. And when I say a cooler drink, like a lemonade, because I don't drink alcohol, but alcohol would have made it much easier to deal with, because then it takes away the inhibitions. It just kind of dulls things. And so I guess it's the idea.
But that's masking.
That's masking. And so with the not masking,
So it's just another problem.
Yeah. And we saw it with my husband, who is ADHD, and like it was stepping forward. He steps forward with ADHD. I step forward with autism, but he follows up with ADHD or with autism, and I follow up with ADHD. So he got overwhelmed with noise, and he just hit that moment of I'm done, and then he's just gone and waiting in the car because he could not, like, even the niceties of, well, let's say goodbye, let's do this. Everything is just absolutely gone and missing. And it gets tough because then people will perceive you as rude. Yeah. And I don't mean to come across as rude. And so I will go take a deep breath and go say goodbye to everybody. The act of going and giving hugs is very hard because it's not normal for me. And knowing that I need to put it the physicality of giving people hugs, because this family is from Morocco and they're all about hugs and love, and I'm going to feed you, and I'm going to just show you how much I care about you through physical touch.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to get touched, people are going to hug me, and everyone's going to corral together. And that's what they do. It's big families, it's fun gatherings. And for me, leaning into understanding my brain is understanding that I don't need to be right in the middle of that. I can sit on the wall, kind of back against the wall, watching everybody. I'm still part of this, but I don't have to be right in the middle. Yeah. And before, I thought I had to be right in the middle.
Yeah. And I think ADHD tries to push you to be the star of the show to some extent as well, doesn't it?
Growing up, kind of being like the class clown, being the one that, well, I actually learned, for me, it's I'm going to get attention anyway. Let me be funny versus let me be getting attention for something bad.
Yeah, I get that. And so you recognize that, you recognize the triggers of it. How did it turn into you going for a diagnosis, and how did that turn into your business, which I think is Power Mind Solutions? Is that what it's called?
It is. And that business has not kicked off yet. I have very high ambition for it, but we're still in the infant stages with it. Going and
laying the foundation.
For me, getting a diagnosis, I'd love to say it was life-changing, but it was almost just the validation.
Life-affirming.
Yeah. The ADHD was life-changing because now I can take stimulants, which makes my brain calm down, which is delightful because then I can focus. And I've not been able to focus. I didn't know people had the ability to focus like that. And so with the ADHD, that was so cool because now I know what it feels like to get things done when you mean to get them done. With autism, it just gave me words for how my brain was working anyway. It gave me that, yes, here's the paperwork. Look at how cool I am. And that way I can tell other people, yes, I've been officially diagnosed. But the unofficial diagnosis, I'm still such a proponent for that because, at least over in America, it's expensive. It's expensive to get a diagnosis. So I think for me, it gives me the credibility to come in here and say these things. And people say, okay, well, she's been diagnosed. Yes, this is this. She has her doctorate. She works in the mental health field. It just kind of added to that credibility. But for me, it was that validation of, yeah, my brain is definitely wired differently. It's not she's just weird. She's weird because here's why.
I mean, I don't think I have any friends that are doctors that I'm aware of. But over here, to be a doctor, you're generally from a well-to-do background. You know, you're generally, we've already discussed this, public school educated or private school educated. Is that the same way you are? And if so, how did you overcome that element of it?
It's definitely a privilege to be able to continue school and to getting the master's degrees and the doctorate.
Did you do it through scholarships or
No,
were you able to get
I
scholarships?
get massive amounts of student loans that I will be paying off for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Which for me is worth it.
Yeah.
But I also am in a position that I can pay those back. People sometimes would go and they would take out loans, and loans are very predatory for giving them out to 18-year-olds. Like, here's $70,000 that you're going to turn into $800,000 by the time you pay it back. But for me to be in a career field that I can get to do talks like this and to go and work in what I do and make decent money, like, it's fantastic. And I'm glad that I did it. But it's also having the time and the ability to continue to get higher education. More schools are offering it now than they did before. One, because they like the money. so they're happy to get paid. But not everybody has the time nor the want to continue to get their doctorate. And I didn't have to go to
Yeah.
medical school to touch cadavers, to do any of that. That would be if I wanted to go into the field of psychiatry, which I don't need to do anything with dead bodies.
Yeah, no, I can see why people would be put off doing things with dead bodies. I think I'm more down the dead body route, but it's interesting if you get a chance to have a look at any of the other podcasts that I've recorded. There's I think it's episode 3 with a guy called Glenn Parsons, and he's a barrister, and he was an orphan. So his parents were from the Caribbean. They came over to the UK. They had a child out of wedlock, as we would describe it over here, and there was pressure upon his mother because she was a parent, to give up the child. So the child was given up for adoption. Glenn was then adopted in the UK. And I think back then it was probably similar to America. I don't think things are quite as segregated here still as they perhaps still are in America. But Glenn's black, and a white family adopted him. And he ended up going to quite a nice school, I think. And he finished school, didn't really get many qualifications, went to work in the local supermarket, or store, as you would call them. And he did 2 or 3, maybe 4 years there. And people were coming in who were students to work in their summer breaks. And then they were going off to university and finishing the college. And then they come back in the Christmas break and whatever. And anyway, he got the opportunity to get, because he was a mature student by then, he got the opportunity to get some free education. So he went and did law. He's now a barrister, and he is a very well-respected barrister. And he advocates in the area that I live in, that covers like an area of about 1,000 barristers in the area where we are. And he said within that, when he started, there were 3 black barristers and the rest were all white. So he now advocates within what they call the bar, a scholarship for underprivileged people, not just people of colour, but people from an underprivileged background. So single mums, kids who've gone to not necessarily the best school and got the best results, but maybe went to the worst school and got the best results. And he actively encourages for this scholarship. Are you there? You've gone again.
Like we might have to end this soon. It seems like it's just getting worse.
Yeah, it doesn't seem good. So, well, we can always do it again anyway. But I mean, I've got enough to put something together. And if not, we'll have like one that's like 6 months long where it's just full of bits and bobs. Oh, you've gone again.
I heard you say we can do it again. You've got what?
Moved. We'll have one like over 6 months where, we'll have sections for 6 months that we've all got different clothes on and blah, blah, blah.
That's so funny. You could just wear the same outfit, all be in different clothes.
In different places. You can go to the mall. You can sit in the car. Well, before we go and before we sort of wrap it up, see if we can't get something out about the Neurospicy Diaries and also your business, how it operates, how you help people, and how your books that you've briefly shown me, what they're about, how we can use them. So anybody who's watching this can go and find them. They can ideally purchase them and actually use them if they're struggling.
Yeah. If you go on Amazon and search up Dr. Kristen Williamson, you will find 2 workbooks there. I created them for my clients. My clients have been asking for more workbooks just for learning about their brains. There's more workbooks now, but not always ones who were written by someone who's lived it. And so I come in and I've just created a whole bunch of weird and fun prompts and learning about your brain and just kind of teaching it. And of course, there's a ton of cat pictures because I like adding cats in there. And it's just, it's workbooks to learn about your brain. And it's colorful and vibrant and funny and weird. And because I think our brains are cool and vibrant and funny and weird and just kind of learning about them.
And they allow your clients and the people you work with to monitor elements of the conditions that they deal with on a daily basis, and then allow them to form not only patterns but presumably ways forward in managing them.
Exactly. I have a section on your sensory systems, and it just kind of talks about what your senses are, personal sensory inventories. And so it's just learning about what touch and smell, what visual things might look like. And so ways that for people who haven't done as deep a dive into their brain, they now can do a little bit of a deeper one in a safer space. Judgmental, it's not any of that.
Well, as you know, we've had a brief discussion about it in the book that I've just written. And this is before we met. So,
Yeah.
I've done some basic stuff, but simply because I don't know if the reasoning is the same. I wanted people who traditionally are ashamed of the situation they find themselves in. I wanted them to have a safe place to make notes, to keep it safe, a bit like the old-fashioned diary that's always in the movies. I wanted it to be a log for them to manage, and yours looks like it's that and some, and it allows them to have a proper, full life diarized version of experiences and how it affects them and how they can go forward with them.
With some of journals in the past or diaries, it's just blank pages. I don't know how you ever did this. Sometimes I would have a hard time finding something to write. I didn't know. It's just a blank page. And so with a lot of mine, I've put in prompts because it's like, oh, okay, I know what to write. If you tell me what to write, then I can give you my responses.
I'm really looking forward to, even though I'd like to call you a friend now. I hope we can call each other friends, but I'm really looking forward to your well, actually, I'm dreading it potentially as well. I'm looking forward to your feedback on my book because I'm a person who doesn't know what he's talking about, who has written a book, and you're a person who does know what they're talking about, who has written their book.
And to read it and to be international for you.
Well, the thing with it is, I wrote the book to me, because I've never felt that there was a book out there that serviced my needs. And I've heard and spoken to lots of other people who felt the same way. And I get the feeling that that's why you've done what you've done as well.
Exactly.
And I think, absolutely. And I think that is what these big businesses and big names in this world are missing, because they're writing them for somebody else that they want to fix rather than themselves. And actually, there's loads of you and me.
There's so many more. And the ones like us, the loudmouth kid in school who was made to sit out in the hallway, and hearing from companies like, well, we need to fix you. It's like, no, you're not broken.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think being forced to listen to something the way somebody else tells you it should be heard hurts.
Yeah.
I don't think I could take it in because they told me the way they thought it. And actually, what I've tried to facilitate isn't necessarily to tell people how they should do it or how they should think it. What I'm trying to do is say, this is how I found it. How do you find it? That
is exactly the book that I have coming out in April. And I love that it's coming out for us, for Autism Awareness Month. It's all about females and autism because there's not a ton of studies. And a lot of it is like, this is how I've experienced parenting. This is how I've experienced this or this or this. And then it adds in, I felt it this way, but also look what I've learned in journals. We're not canceling out anybody. We're saying everybody has stories that are worthy of being heard, but no better than the person next to you.
Oh, brain filing cabinets?
Oh my gosh. I loved this thought. I was watching Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch. And he talked about how he has a mind palace. And the mind palace is just kind of like a place he could go in and just pull up information. For me, that's how I live my life. In my brain, I envision just hundreds of thousands of filing cabinets, and it's information and scripts that it's like, oh, okay, well, we're going to talk about this. And so the little human in my brain just like walks to the filing cabinet and like pulls out the information. Like, here's your script. This is what we can talk about. And all the data collecting I have done as my alien self and studying human behavior, it's all just nicely filed away of like, okay, in Texas, we smile at people. We say thank you at drive-thrus for restaurants. We do this. We do this. In New York, they respond differently. Over here, it's different. And just the collection of information is all like nicely stored because it's not the ADHD brain up there. It is very much nicely organized and structured in the autism brain. It's color coded with labels. The ADHD brain is like thousands of sticky notes.
My memory is amazing. My long-term memory. I can remember things from being 18 months old.
Whoa.
And probably before. But my memory for recalling things that matter in the last 3 weeks. And I know this is a bit, people say, oh, I forget what I learned yesterday. But genuinely, it's torturous. I go on a training thing and I will not remember what I learned or had in a meeting. On a Monday morning, I'll forget what I had in the meeting on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
But I can remember what somebody's house smelt like that I visited when I was, 18 months old. But you're lucky in having the ADHD element, but also having the autism element to go to the memories.
Oh yeah. It's easy until it's not. For the things with the filing cabinet, I still will take copious amounts of notes. I will do these things because I know the working memory, like if I don't write it down, if someone just tells me something, it's going to be gone.
Yeah, same. I don't write things down very enough. That's my problem, probably.
And see, so it's learning your brain and then working with your brain versus against it. Like, no, I'm going to remember that. It's you come in with, I'm not going to remember that. I need you to write it down.
But writing things down is just so boring.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. ADHD brains, they fight against the structure. They don't want to do it, but it benefits.
Yeah, I should do that. Yeah.
It will help.
But I do, yeah. And the other thing, I think the reason my memory works so well, it's something to do with association, and I know that's very well known. But it's just, I don't know what the association is. I can associate. It's usually time. It's something to do with what else has happened at around the same time, and that's how I can log them.
But together,
yeah, almost to the date.
That is so interesting.
In fact, actually to the date in some instances. But I don't know why. I don't know how that works. But I'm not here for counseling.
I know. My brain's like, that's so cool. We should look into that.
Yeah. So let's finish today on what is your go-to stim or way of comforting yourself after a tough day?
Depending on where we're at, my husband very much appreciates this one. One of my stems that I will do when we are out and about is my hands go under his clothes. It's skin on skin, and I am just moving my hands back and forth. So he just gets back scratches wherever he goes. So he's like, hey, do you want to go to this big box store? I know you're going to be overwhelmed. Yeah? You want to come with?
That sounds like a great solution.
Oh, yeah. He's all about that. He's like, yes, this is amazing. For me, when it comes to if I am really overwhelmed, I need quiet. Like I've had moments where I will go sit in my closet. Like I have to cut all sensory down.
Like
in order. Totally down. I will squish myself within like small areas or sit on the couch, and then my kids will come sit on me, and just that deep pressure, which they love it. They've been doing that since they were little. I'm like, you want to come squish me?
That's great.
Except now they're 15 and 12, so they're much heavier than they were. In times where it's not even out of or not like calming down, but if I'm out somewhere, you will notice my fingers start, like I'll get really excited, like happy tappy.
That's a good thing. Nope, that's just,
okay. Oh, look at that. That's so exciting. Just happy tappy fingers.
That's great. So if you're going out to comfort yourself or to do something you enjoy, I know you love your cats. So are you a wildlife enthusiast? Do you like the countryside? Is that something that motivates you, or is that a problem as well?
It's all depending on temperatures. As long as it's not hot.
Oh, really?
I love being outside. I love being with animals. That's actually not true. I don't love being outside. I love the idea of being outside. But if dirt touches me, I'm going to lose my mind. If a bug touches me, I'm going to lose my mind.
Okay. So the outside isn't great. But if you went somewhere in a hazmat suit.
Yes, I could do that. Fully decked out hazmat suit, walking around. I've got an oxygen tank. It's good. No, it's going, and there's some places that we can go out and go hiking and walking around. And I'm like going to wear socks that cover my kneecaps. They're up so high, so nothing's actually touching me.
Like waders.
Yeah, I'm going to be that human. And it's so much fun. It is just, I love learning about a whole different thing. So my fun things are sitting at home watching documentaries, watching silly TV shows where we're learning about Winston Churchill or past presidents here, and just fun things, doing puzzles, like jigsaw puzzles, drinking coffee. at all hours.
Do you find the things that you're uncomfortable with for you, so bugs on you, mud
Mhm.
on you, would you find that uncomfortable to watch on TV?
No, I can see that. That's fine. If it touches me, because eating food, I don't like food touching my hands. And so and I notice my son does it too, except he wipes his hands on his pants and that drives me nuts. I will take a bite of something that I immediately have to clean my hand. And then I can take a bite again, but I
Of
cannot
course.
have food continuously touching me.
No.
The tism is strong for those moments.
I think we are now against it a little bit. And I
Yeah.
think you need to go and have your Tex-Mex relatively soon. So I'm going to put some bits in the diaries. So maybe we can come back and have a chat about psychology stuff as well.
Oh my gosh. Oh, thank you for dealing with the chaos of the internet with me today.
These things happen, right? Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Love to your family. Please have a lovely lunch and we shall catch up soon.
You have a wonderful evening. Take
Thank
care.
you very much.
Bye.
Bye. Kristen, thank you for sharing your story, your wisdom, and yes, your cat content with us today. What you're doing through Empower Mind Solutions, your writing and advocacy isn't just changing minds, it's making space for them to breathe. To our listeners, remember, you are not broken. You've just been navigating in a world not acutely wired to your brilliance. Find your people. Do your own wiring. Nap often. And please, for the love of comfort, wear pajamas when you get home. Until next time, I'm the Pie Eating Man, an ordinary guy speaking with extraordinary people on this Chewing the Crust podcast. Stay real, stay weird, keep peeling back those layers, like, subscribe, share, and comment. And thank you so much for joining us again this week. Bye-bye now. Oh, and don't forget, The Pie Eating Man's Guide to a Healthy Mind is now out and available on Amazon. All you have to do is search on Amazon and it will come up. Or you can contact me using the email or Instagram and I can arrange for a signed copy to be sent out to you. So please get in touch and keep on sharing the podcast because let's just help people. We just want to help people. I know I keep saying it, but I want people to understand that the world is weird. You're not. All right. Thanks ever so much. See you in a couple of weeks.